I'm Natalie Harp, a formerly forgotten American from California. They didn't give me the right to try experimental treatments, Mr. President. You did. And without you, I'd have died waiting for them to be approved.
So as she said, that was Natalie Harp. She was speaking at the 2020 GOP convention about former President Donald Trump's support for right-to-try legislation that gives terminally ill patients access to experimental therapies. 4 years later, Harp has become a critical part of Donald Trump's inner circle. And she is the focus of a new piece from Mark Caputo, who writes in The Bulwark this, quote, Harp's nickname on the campaign, the human printer, underplays her importance. That's because in Trump's orbit, proximity to the principal is power. If you want the president to see something, the best route is Natalie, says a knowledgeable source. The piece explains that her nickname, the human printer, comes from her carrying around a portable printer and constantly printing news articles for Trump to read in court and on the campaign trail. You see him there with his giant stack of papers, always at the ready. Joining me now is Mark Caputo of The Bulwark. Mark, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you again. This is a fascinating story because anyone who has covered Donald Trump knows that this is how he operates. He requires paper. This is not a man who, I don't know if he has one now, but for years didn't have an email address, typically does not text. And this is an incredible amount of power. I mean, it's kind of genius to actually carry the printer around with you to make this happen. How did you learn about this, and what more can you tell us about who Natalie Harp is?
Well, I heard about it months and months ago, or actually maybe last year after she first got hired. I think the first reference to her was in a Washington Post piece. It was just maybe a paragraph like, hey, look at this. Because she had been spotted at a golf course with a printer. And then the Daily Mail had also kind of mentioned it as well. But to your point, yeah, it is genius, and it's also really indicative of how Donald Trump operates. Donald Trump creates his own solar system. He's the sun at the center of it. He's the center of gravity, or the place, the focal point around which everything revolves, and everyone has a role. And in this role, her job is to make sure that he doesn't have to strain his 77-year-old eyes and read his iPhone or be stuck in front of a computer. He's got this aide right there who can print up anything he wants and also knows the things he wants to read. So in addition to news articles, she prints out favorable posts on social media that he gets to read and the like. And he certainly appreciates her, and that's one of the reasons she's sort of risen in esteem and sort of risen in estimation and power within his inner circle.
Yeah. So, Mark, what kinds of how does the campaign apparatus proper view and interact with Natalie Harp? I mean, Chris LaCivita, Susie Wiles, because I'm thinking back to when Trump was in the White House, and there was a lot of thought given, and I know your piece kind of digs into how paper was, like what paper got in front of the president was something they spent a lot of time managing. And didn't they also have somebody who was in charge of he would tear paper up and they would have to put it back together?
Right, that's another unique job that was created under Trump is under the Presidential Records Act, which actually links back to the classified documents case that you were talking about earlier. All these records that a president sees are supposed to be preserved, but Donald Trump doesn't like to keep things around. So after he'd read a record or a paper, he'd tear it up and throw it in the trash bag or trash can. And so they had a bunch of White House aides whose job it was a Politico story written at the time, to dig back through the trash and piece everything back together, kind of retape the puzzle pieces into a reconstituted presidential record. But as far as information flow, this has just been a constant thing for the people who work under Donald Trump, whether it was in the White House or his prior campaigns, is he gets lots of information from lots of different people all of the time. There's no real way to sort of control that info flow. And Trump doesn't want to be controlled. And in this case, Natalie Harp, though a campaign employee, is sort of separate and apart from the rest of the campaign. She answers sort of directly to the president, not to Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita, the co-campaign managers. And what you've seen this year, or this cycle out of them, is understanding that Donald Trump is just going to be Donald Trump. And so sort of like saying the Serenity Prayer, where they can accept the things they cannot change. Well, one of the things that the campaign managers cannot change is that sort of fundamental nature of Donald Trump. So they trust Natalie, and so they just sort of let her do her thing, and they understand that Trump is going to do his thing. And sometimes the campaign and the candidate match up, and sometimes they don't.
Be interesting to know if someone has that hanging on the wall of an office working for Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Mark
well, it's a
Caputo.
serenity prayer, right? That's the serenity prayer. You know.
Mark Caputo, very grateful to have you. Thanks very much for being here. See you soon, I hope.
Thanks, Casey.